Be a good ninja and don't piss Massa off. Let's start out by saying Barakatah Yahawah, BaHa YAHAWASHI, BaHa RAWCHAA QADASH. Welcome to another live lesson. The name of this one is Be a Good Ninja, Don't Piss Massa Off. And pretty much this lesson is inspired by something I was thinking about last night. You know, dealing with this devil, Vocab Malone, and his continuous effort to try and block the truth and try to denigrate the truth. You know, trying to destroy the truth by constant pushing that Renaissance Christianity that he tries to push. And it got me to thinking of some, different things that were going on in my mind. And one particular phrase came into my mind. I just found something on my phone real quick before I went to sleep last night. And like I said, it just got me to thinking about this whole futile effort that Vocab is pushing. And how you'll have people on the comment board, Jake on the comment board, cursing him out, talking about he's doing this for money. Oh, I ain't doing it for money. Trust me, it ain't really worth it. And or something along those lines. And I pretty much, when you go back to the oath of the Jesuits, and even their whole mindset, it was about living a life of poverty, but the main focus that they had was any religion that strayed away from the Roman Catholic Church. They were there to pretty much slap them back into shape, whip them back into shape, and bring them back under the orders of the Roman Catholic Church. And this is pretty much what Vocab is doing. He's pretty much a gatekeeper, which we're going to examine that word. And he's pretty much a slave catcher. And that was the other phrase, that was one phrase that came into mind, that he is a slave catcher. Now, I happened to find a video on YouTube, actually this video called Slave Catchers, Slave Resistors, which is an actual documentary. And so far I've watched about 14 minutes, really good, documentary. So I'm pretty sure brothers probably ran across it before. It's been up here on YouTube 8 years already, so I'm pretty sure brothers that run into it. I'd never run into it that I can remember. But let's get into this word Massa, M-A-S-S-A, which is the slang way of saying master. It says offensive, dated, master, formerly used in representation of the speech of slaves in the U.S. And the name of the lesson is Be a Good Ninja, Don't Piss Massa Off. And one thing that Massa don't like is being pissed off, because you done stepped on Mr. Gilmore's property. Inside joke. But that's pretty much it. So I put these couple of pages I have here, I put in the description box, so brothers that want to watch the video and read more, they can. So let's get into it. Slave catcher. And Apostle Tar is going over this, and brothers have gone over this term, slave catcher, which is nothing more than your ancient, not ancient, but your past police force, And they were mostly Edomites that were, you had Jake in there also. Yeah, they're mostly Edomites that had been paid by the master of these different plantations to track down runaway slaves. Because unbeknownst to the world, slave revolts happened from pretty much from the inception of the slaves being brought here to the Americas. They were always trying to escape. When the Spaniards came here and, was putting, the Northern Kingdom in captivity, they were fighting, they were rebelling, revolting, leading raids against Esau. So Jake never really complied, but it's just that the Lord had them curses over us, So there was nothing we could do. So eventually they would come to a point where they would wear us down, because that's what Esau does. It's a constant wearing down, the battle of attrition, which is small battles being fought and won. Eventually you win enough little battles, you win the war. And it was time for us to go down. In the case of Gad, this is, prophecy, and as well as the other tribes. Gad, a troop shall overcome him, but he shall overcome at the last. So it says a slave catcher is a person employed to track down and return escaped slaves to their enslavers. Let's read that again. A slave catcher is a person employed to track down and return escaped slaves to their enslavers. And this is pretty much what vocab is doing. He sees runaway slaves, he sees revolters, he sees those that are not that are jaded or upset with this bullshit that they got, this plantation / Renaissance Christianity, and his job is to go out, track, and bring back these revolting slaves, these rebellious slaves, back to the master, because he is a gatekeeper. Vocab didn't wake up one day, went to college, tried to be a rapper, but at the same time was going to college, and all of a sudden he woke up one day and said, you know what, there's this group of people in my community known as the Black Hebrew Israelites. So what I'm going to do, being a good little Christian that I am, I'm going to study them and I'm going to return them back to Jesus, because, I don't want them to burn in hell. No, he was paid to do what he does. Whether he gets paid a lot or a little is of no significance. He is a gatekeeper. Now, he is a gatekeeper in the sense of a religious gatekeeper, because you have different types of gatekeeper. A gatekeeper is a person who controls access to something. For example, via a city gate or bouncer, or more abstractly, controls who is granted access to a category or status. Gatekeepers assess who is in or out, in the classic words of management scholar Kurt Lewin. So we're going to read a little more, but pretty much a gatekeeper controls or assess or gives access to who is in or out, in the classic words of management scholar. So pretty much that's what they do. This is why vocab and other so-called apologetics, apologias, or whatever you call them, and other so-called Christians, mainly them, apologists / slave catchers, their whole thing is, these Black Hebrew Israelites, they don't accept the worldview of Christianity. And you are right, we don't accept the worldview of Christianity, because the worldview of Christianity is just that, the worldview. YAHAWASHI said, through the mouth of the Apostle John, love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. If any man love the world, the love of the Father is not in him. So no, we don't accept your worldview Christianity, because your worldview Christianity is false. And this was the very thing that was given to Satan, which was an actual man, which are actual men, actual people, the Edomites, to deceive the world with. Now, they're not going to deceive the world with just words. They're going to use the power of the book, the Bible, to do this deception, to paint themselves as being the people of the Most High, the ones that have the authority, but that authority you took upon yourself. You were not given that authority from heaven as far as to be the true worshipers. You were given that authority from heaven to deceive. And that's what you have done unto this very day. All right, so let's get into it. Let's see what we got here. You have the Negro Act of 1740. Negro Act of 1740, the Comprehensive Negro Act of 1740, passed in South Carolina, made it illegal for slaves to move abroad. And this is pretty much what they're trying to do. They're trying to close off all of these avenues of teaching. This is why they'll try to go to Deuteronomy 28 and try to debunk it. They'll try to go to other scriptures that are evident, You can't get around that it's talking about us and try to debunk them, because they figure they can debunk them, then they can stop other Israelites from being encouraged to come aboard to their true nationality. See? Because they are the gatekeepers. Don't believe that this guy is just some benevolent Edomite that happens to just, care so much about Jake that he doesn't want them to be destroyed, so he has to bring them back to sweet Jesus. Sweet Jesus, let me kill this, We ain't buying it, vocab. It says, this Negro Act of 1740 passed in South Carolina made it illegal for slaves to move abroad, assemble in groups, raise food, earn money, and learn to write English. In this case, we already got the English part. This is why, they're upset too, because we could actually read and comprehend. And far above that, the spirit of YAHAWASHI is working with us. It says, though reading was not prescribed, additionally, owners were permitted to kill rebellious slaves if necessary. And eventually this will happen. The beheading of some, the forcible, moving Jakes into these different facilities to re-educate them for the future. Hey, it's all part of the plan. So when we get into Psalms, the 10th chapter and the 7th verse, it says, his mouth is full of cursing and deceit and fraud. Don't believe for 1 minute that these devils are benevolent. Remember, the scriptures say that Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light. All right. Under his tongue is mischief and vanity. So they come with deceit and fraud, but they try to paint it as if them being so noble. The scriptures speak about the wicked or your enemy coming, crouching and humbling himself, acting like he's, so benevolent, so, down to earth. Oh man, he's such a sincere individual. Just look at the way he moves. He really cares. He really cares, man. Psalms 55 and 19. The Most High shall hear and afflict them, even he that abideth of old, Selah, because they have no changes, therefore they fear not the Most High. He hath put forth his hands against such as be at peace with him. See, this is what Esau did. He used the scriptures against us. We gave him peace. We helped him, take stuff off of his ship, made sure that nobody touched his goods. And what happened? How did they treat us? Well, with 50 men, we could subdue all of these people. They make good slaves. This is the mind of the devil. This is the mind of the serpent. It says the words of his mouth was smoother than butter. Oh, yeah, they speak a good game. You got to give it to Esau. I mean, they speak a goddamn good, man. They are the when it comes to smooth speeches, they are the top orators of the planet. But don't believe in that smooth, soft, buttery, velvety words that they speak, that they mean good. They don't mean any good. It says, but war was in his heart, because it's all about trapping. It's all about trapping us, trying to bring us back to that plantation Christianity / Renaissance Christianity. His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords. Because at the end of all of that, it's all a trap. And if you can't see that, then you're blind. You can't see. You need to get wear some glasses like DMC. Salakia. So going back to Psalms 10 and 8 now, he sitteth in the lurking places of the villages. In the secret places does he murder the innocent. Right, and this is what they do. Doesn't this devil travel, different states, to try to confront? It ain't about confronting because, I really want to bring the true gospel to them. No, it's about coming and trying to debunk. But if this work be of men, it will come to naught. But if it be of the Most High, you cannot overthrow it. And you've been trying since 2016. The others have tried before you. You even got people on your roster that have failed in the past, like your man Abu, the demon, Kamar. He's still in the background, and that slithery little bastard, he doesn't show his face, even though we got him on camera years ago. He doesn't show his face. How can you trust a devil that won't show it? Don't even have the courage. If you're such a proponent and a believer in your way, in your truth, why hide your face? Why don't you ever show your face? Because you're a fucking coward. That's why. Lurking in the shadows, feeding people information so that they can go out and do your dirty work for you. We see right through you too, Abu, goddamn devil. It says his eyes are privily or privately set against who? The poor, Israel. Because this is what it's all about. If you can keep the masses, deceived, then you'll be doing good, or so you think. But what you don't understand is that the Most High has an elect, and they will not be deceived by your slippery, serpent, venomous ways. It says he lieth in wait secretly as a lion in his den. He lieth in wait to catch the poor. He does catch the poor. How does he catch the poor? With those words. When he draweth him into his net. And you have jakes in the world that are mesmerized by vocab and the like. And they're coming to them, being drawn to them like, oh, wow. And then you have Israelites that know that they're Israelites that were somehow jaded or upset or pissed off at a former camp, former One West camp, and they end up going towards a Pied Piper of destruction, vocab. They're on this platform, they talking all kinds of shit. They're coming against the very gospel that they once taught. And that's what the devil does. And it's not about, and everything that devil does is all about extracting information from somebody. Once he gets the information from that person and doesn't need him anymore, he cuts him off. You don't need that person no more. What more do I need? You don't have, you're useless to me. You have nothing else to offer. It says he croucheth and humbleth himself. I'm just trying to get down to the bottom of it because I believe in being truthful. I just want the truth to come out. Yeah, but meanwhile you're regurgitating, and trying to pin, murders on the Israelites. You're trying to pin, a bad name for the Israelites. See, if you go over here, that's a cult. You ain't about the truth, man. You're all about trying to get us to come back to Massa. But we ain't buying it, my dude. That the poor may fall by his strong ones, right? And that's, these religions, it's also speaking about their military groups and all of that, police groups. But their religions are also their strong ones because that is their main stronghold, which is their so-called Renaissance Christianity, right? It says he hath said in his heart, the most hath forgotten, he hideth his face, he will never see it. So it says, arise, O Lord, O power, lift up thine hand, forget not the humble. Wherefore doth the wicked contemn the Most High? He hath said in his heart, thou wilt not require it. Yeah, because these devils are trying to wiggle out of payment. Look, somebody got to motherfucking pay for all the wickedness that you devils have done. And taking this land and the outrageous number of wickedness that you've done. Somebody got to pay for that. But they're trying to get out of it. Oh, no, that was our forefathers. Well, the scriptures have an answer to that. Reincarnation. Prepare slaughter for his children for the iniquity of their fathers. Now, we know that's not talking about you paying for the sins of your fathers because they did it, they're not here no more, and you're here. No, it's talking about you coming back again because the son shall not pay for the sins of the father, neither shall the father pay for the sins of the son. So if that's the case, why does it say prepare slaughter for his children for the iniquity of their fathers? Because you are those same spirits coming back just in a different body. And they don't want to deal with that. But you're going to have to deal with it. All right, so let's move on to the next precept. We got Isaiah 59:13, and transgressing and lying against the Lord and departing away from our power, speaking oppression and revolt. This is we've revolted against the Most High. Conceiving and uttering from the heart words of falsehood. And this is what Jake has done. By worshiping these different idols, and this is what vocab is trying to bring Jake back to those words of falsehood. Back to worshiping those idols, because the scriptures say one of the curses is what? That we will be scattered among the nations, and there we will serve wood and stone. Their gods, wood and stone, which is a representation of these religions. Their buildings where Jake goes to congregate. The whole mindset of the so-called plantation/Renaissance Christianity. It says, and judgment is turned away backward, and justice standeth afar off. For truth is fallen in the street, and equity cannot enter. Right, and this is why it says, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Yea, truth faileth, and truth faileth, but it's coming to light now. It says, and he that departeth from evil, meaning he that departs from these demonic, wicked ways of Renaissance Christianity, maketh himself a prey. You see? And that's why you have something known as the slave catchers. The first slave catchers in the Americas were active in the European colonies in the West Indies during the 16th century in colonial Virginia and Carolina. Slave catchers, as part of the slave patrol system, were recruited by Southern partners beginning in the 18th century to return fugitive slaves. So we're considered fugitive slaves. And vocab, Abu and them, those are slave catchers. They are the gatekeepers, and they're commissioned with trying to bring us back to Massa. It says the concept quickly spread to the rest of the 13 colonies. After the establishment of the United States, slave catchers continued to be employed in addition to being active in other countries which had not abolished slavery, such as Brazil. The activities of slave catchers from the American South became at the center of a major controversy in the lead up to the American Civil War. The Fugitive Slave Act required those living in northern United States to assist slave catchers. Slave catchers in the United States ceased to be active with the ratification of the 13th century. Yeah, but they just shifted from being the physical, actual physical slave catchers to doing it for Christianity. Plantation Christianity / Renaissance Christianity. So it's never going away. It says the first slave catchers in America were active in European colonies. It gives you history, law enforcement in colonial America. I'll put these in the description box so you can read a little more about it. We dealt with the gatekeepers, which, they it's like a bouncer at the door. He only lets in those that are permitted, and others he keeps out. So moving on, it says, and the Lord saw it, and it displeased him that there was no judgment. Right, and this is why the Lord set up what you see today. Going back 2,000 years ago, he set up his son YAHAWASHI to get us access back to him. And now today he's given us the knowledge, the key. He's woken us up from being dead. You had the quickened who were dead in trespasses and sins. And now we have the right, combination, so to speak, and the right mysteries of this truth, of the true gospel to teach. And those that are inspired by the Lord Yahweh will come to the light, and those that are not will go to the demonic black light of vocab in them. So it says, Isaiah 42:18, hear ye deaf, and look ye blind, that you may see. Who is blind but my servant, or deaf as my messenger that I sent? Right, and who's this? This is Jake. The Israelites are the ones that are blind. It says, and matter of fact, when we go to 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 3, it says, but if our gospel be hid, it is hid to them that are what? Lost. The lost sheep of the house of Israel. It says, in whom the God of this world, Esau, with his minions, like Vocab, Abu, and others, hath blinded the minds of them which believe not. Why? Because that was the very thing that they were to do when they first were brought forth out of that 1,000-year prison sentence. It says the very first thing they did was go to the four corners of the earth to deceive the people that are on the four corners of the earth. And the scriptures speak about the beast and how the world wondered after the beast, meaning they went behind and they were mesmerized by this devil because they painted themselves up as being the Most High, YAHAWASHI, the angels, the Israelites, all of the great people on the planet. But then everybody else of color, they were just pieces of shit. They were dogs. They were, they were savages. We had to teach you how to be, civilized and all this bullshit. It says, "Least the light of the glorious gospel of YAHAWASHI, who is the image of the Most High, should shine unto them. Because if the light shines, guess what? There is a healing process that goes on. And with that healing process, the ones that endure will be saved at the end." So going back to Isaiah 42:19, "Who is blind but my servant, or deaf as my messenger that I sent? Who is blind as he that is perfect, and blind as the Lord's servant?" Who is the Lord's servant? The Israelites. They are the Lord's servants. "Seeing many things, but thou observest not, opening the ears, but he heareth not." Right, because not all Israel is going to hear this. Not every Israelite is a part of the elect. "The Lord is well pleased for his righteousness' sake," because this is being established because of the Lord's righteousness' sake, Yahweh B'Shem Yahawashi's righteousness' sake, and the promise that he made to his friend Abraham. "He will magnify the law and make it honorable," and the law was only given to the nation of Israel. It says, "But this is a people robbed and spoiled. And have we not been robbed and spoiled as a nation?" It says, "They are all of them snared," meaning trapped, "in holes." What are these holes? What are these snares and holes? These religious institutions that are set up with these gatekeepers that keep the way. And if you don't go through them, they don't recognize you. This is why even Yahawashi back then, when he was teaching with that great authority and great knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, they say, "How know if this man letters haven't never learned?" Because you always had gatekeepers throughout. It's no different today. And if you don't go through them, they don't recognize you. This is why the Apostle Paul said, "Look, I ain't coming to you with the words of man's wisdom, because the knowledge of this world is foolishness, or the wisdom of this world is foolishness with the Most High." He ain't dealing with your worldview Christianity. Are you crazy? I mean, he is dealing with it on the left side to where he's using it to deceive those he doesn't want. But to say that the Most High is dealing with your Renaissance Christianity as the true gospel, that's a joke, man. It is not the true gospel, because the Lord did not come to die for everybody. The sins of the world that he died for are the sins of the world of Israel. So get it right, troop. "And they are hid in prison houses." The prison houses, once again, these churches. Jake is all caught up in these churches. And King David said it best. He said, "Let that which should be for their welfare be a trap unto them." This is why when Jake tries to get into the Bible, they get all screwed up and messed up. And then on top of that, you got Esau feeding them garbage. This is why you see them so-called Christians coming to the different Israelite camps, trying to get their game up. It says, "They are for a prey." See, once again, for a prey. What is a prey? Something that's being hunted. And we are the prey. And Vocab, Abu, and them, they are the hunters, the slave catchers, the gatekeepers. "And none delivereth for a spoil, and none saith restore." Right. And the Lord is trying to restore you, Israelites, but you're slapping the Lord's hand away and going with Mr. Gilmo. "Who among you will give ear to this? Who will hearken and hear for the time to come? Who gave Jacob for a spoil and Israel to the robbers? Did not the Lord, he against whom we have sinned? For they would not walk in his ways, neither were they obedient unto his law." That's why Jake is all fucked up. And we've been all fucked up for a long time. Therefore he hath poured upon him the fury of his anger. Right. And who did he use to pour the fury of his anger upon us? Well, his whipping stick, his favorite whipping stick, Esau. This is why he gave him a sword, which is a representation of his weapons. If I can get to my weapons, inside joke. "And the strength of battle, and it has set them on fire round about. Right. And Jake is set on fire round about. They don't even realize it. I mean, they've been that stubborn toad in that boiling water that was turned on when it was cold, and they've been in that boiling water suffering, and they don't even realize it. Yet he knoweth not, and it burned him, yet he laid it not to heart. So 2 Thessalonians 2:8, and then shall that wicked be revealed, and this is what's happening now. They're being revealed as the devil. It says, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth. So how is the Lord consuming them or eating them up? By the spirit of his mouth, which is what? The prophets teaching and giving the true and proper understanding from the true gospel. Destroying strongholds, casting them down, casting down these imaginations. It says, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming, because eventually once the word goes out enough exposure goes out, enough, sentencing goes out, then comes the judgment by way of the nuclear fire from the missiles and the lasers from the chariots. Even him who's coming is after the working of Satan, because they're coming in the power of Satan. But they're using the book, because they can't come in the power of Satan and say that they're the wicked. They got to come in the power of Satan and use the very thing that has power on the planet, which is the Bible, the words of Yahawah, Ba'ashem YAHAWASHI. And that's how they're coming. Even him who's coming is after the working of Satan with all power and signs and lying wonders. And they show power. They have power, and they show signs and lying wonders. But they're just that, lying wonders. And this is why the majority of the world is still fawning and going behind these devils, because they're caught up in it. Let's go to real quick Ephesians 6, and we'll go back to there. Ephesians 6:12. It says, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers. And we're not fighting a physical battle. We're fighting a spiritual battle against these demons. And these individuals that are the gatekeepers, they're filled with spirits, unclean spirits. It says, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, which is dealing with the top gatekeepers of the planet, which begins with the so-called Illuminati or the international banking families, whatever you want to call them. Lucifer, which that's what it means, morning star or old day star, which is a representation of these so-called illuminated ones, against spiritual wickedness in high places. So we're fighting and battling demons. And they're pushing, they're turned up because, we're at the very end. And they're making their last ditch attempt, to try to gather to try to bring all the rebellious slaves back to Massa. So going back to 2 Thessalonians 2:10 now, and with all deceivableness, these devils are not holding back anything. They're pulling all stops. They just come in full force with it. And with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish, right? Because the ones that will be deceived are the ones that are destined to be destroyed, of you Israelites. Because the scriptures say, Yahawashi said it best, if it were possible, they would deceive the very elect, but they won't be able to deceive the elect. Because they receive what? Not the love of the truth, which is the true gospel, that they might be saved. Because this word, this understanding, this true gospel is what's going to save the souls, save our souls pretty much. The engrafted word which is able to save your soul. And for this cause the Most High shall send them strong delusion, that they should believe a lie. Bottom line, that they all might be damned who believed not the truth, but had pleasure in unrighteousness. You see? So those that don't listen, they're going to be destroyed. You're falling right into the trap of these slave catchers. So this has been Be a Good Ninja. Don't piss Massa off. Lord's will, you brothers and few sisters have been edified. Till the next time I say Shalom.